Hi, I'm Dan Olson with LD Consulting. We're here today to talk to you about the IA 101 class. I wanted to give you a little background about LD Consulting and why we're doing this class. As many of you know, we do the inspections classes. We've been doing those for a number of years. And during the course of that, I've had a lot of people come up and say, could you do an IA class like that? So we made an interactive IA class. Today we're with Kim Humphrey. Kim and I worked together for many years on Phoenix, and he is the instructor for the course, and he's going to tell us a little bit about what makes the course a little bit different than most IA courses that you take out there.
Well, when we put this together, the goal was to make sure that it was interactive, that this was a class that when you walked away from it, it wasn't just about hearing a lot of facts or, this is how you're supposed to do it, but actually practicing, actually getting your involved in it, figuring out how to actually do each step of an investigation and put together an internal affairs investigation. And as most people know, these things can be extraordinarily complex and they can be pretty straightforward. It just depends. And having a plan and knowing how to do that, and then actually getting an opportunity to work on it together and put a product together so that at the end you feel comfortable that you actually could go back and do one of these investigations.
Now, a little bit about the development of the course so the viewer can understand. I worked in Professional Standards Bureau in Phoenix for a number of years as an IA investigator, as a sergeant and a lieutenant, and then as the inspections lieutenant. You and I worked together in PSB in Phoenix, and at the time you were the commander. So the reason I bring that up is so folks watch and understand that we developed this course based on the line investigator person, which I did when I was a sergeant, mid-level when I was a lieutenant, and then from the command or the management perspective, which is what you bring to the equation. So we put all that together when we created the course.
Yeah, and part of it was a unique opportunity that I had as well when I was working in that area, was to go on a national level and work with agencies around the country on developing best practices. And that gave me the opportunity to not only see what we do in Phoenix, but to see what people are doing around the country and participate in actually putting together a document that later became a best practice list of how to do these investigations, what an IA unit should look like, how you go for everything from who works there to how you actually put these investigations together. So we're going to talk a lot about best practices, it's not Phoenix, it's not a specific agency, this is the best practices in the industry.
We've kind of talked about general background, how we developed the course, what it's going to be. Maybe we can specifically for the viewer give them a little bit of an idea of what they're going to be experiencing or learning when they come to the class. More specifically, you've already mentioned the notice of investigation, and people call that different things, whatever their world is. But what else specifically, let's kind of run down the bullet points of what they can expect to learn when they come to the course.
Well, certainly we'll go back and do a little bit of history into why we do these and how it came about and the importance of it. But then also looking at templates. How do you do this type of investigation versus this type? How do you put those together and what do they look like that's different? And we'll share those with you. So you'll walk away with a list of different types of investigations, how they're done. We'll also look at how to do interviews, and when you have a lot of people, how to put together a matrix so that you cover all of that material that you need to, and that you make sure that the questions you ask are consistent across the board. In addition to putting together an interview matrix, we'll also look at the difference between criminal investigations and internal investigations, all of the nuances that go along with dealing with a criminal investigation that goes along with an internal investigation, handling administrative evidence. So we'll really run all the way from, this is how IA started, this is why it's important, to this is how you do an investigation, and this is how you handle the stress even associated with working in this unit. There's a lot of issues that come up in internal affairs these days, and one of them is, for example, the Bill of Rights, and that is something that is affecting agencies around the country. and it's changing all the time.
And it's different in different states.
It is different in different states. There's different rights that officers have, and so we'll pull that apart as well. We'll look at whatever that local agency is dealing with.
The other thing that comes up is, from an inspection standpoint, is the liability associated with IA investigations. A lot of people overlook this, but if you improperly do an IA investigation, anybody that's watching that's done these cases know you're probably going to get sued. So you really need to make sure that you can demonstrate that you've had some training, that you know what you're doing. This is a high risk, high liability area of operation for a police department, which really requires and demands now that they get training. If you go into litigation over an IA case, one of the first things they're going to ask folks is, what training have you received? So it's imperative that they do that.
From the very beginning, are we taking the complaint? Are we seeing the credibility or the potential credibility in an allegation, even if it doesn't sound like it from the beginning? And then are we following through just to make sure that if we have a problem out there, we are upholding the standards of law enforcement? Because that's really what it's all about, is that we live and die by our integrity. And not every investigation is to be that complex. It's not going to be that detailed. It's not going to end up with a criminal aspect to it. But at least, in this course, we're going to cover all of this so that you have a good understanding of, what would you do if you had something like that versus something really straightforward and simple.
And I think kind of the difference that we offer in this course is the different experience base that we bring to the class from those that developed it, you and I and other folks that we talk to. And also the fact that when they leave, they've done it. And that's a good learning model. We talk about that in the class. They've actually had a chance to do it. We just don't talk at them for 3 days. This is interactive. So roll up your sleeves, come in, bring your laptop. They get a jump drive with a bunch of templates, which you mentioned. Well, thank you, Kim, for everything that you've told us about the class, and I look forward to working with you more as we develop the 201 class, which we'll talk about in a minute here. So for you folks watching, obviously you've got an interest in IA investigations. As you can tell, Kim and I are pretty passionate about this. We've done this a number of years. We've seen a lot of training, and we're really trying to improve the training, make it more hands-on, make it more applicable to the real world, what you're doing. And when you leave, you're going to feel like you're either prepared to do one, or we've given you the resources to do that, or you have somebody to call if you need to do that. So if you have any questions, feel free to call me. My contact information as well as Kim's is on the video, and you can go to our website for more information. So thank you very much.